Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself.
Hello. Nice.
Oh, man. I'm ready to do the do.
Listen, we're doing fun stuff today, and I like doing fun things.
You can
Let
tell
it
by
not be
the,
said I'm not fun.
you can tell by the intonation of his voice when he says that.
We're going to do something fun now.
Yeah. Is there rules?
You bet.
Yeah. I said fun, didn't
yeah.
I?
Yeah. Did I say you could grab it yet?
Oh, sorry, sir.
Yeah, it's prescribed reading month, baby.
Oh, yeah. Prescribed reading month.
Thank you. This is the third week, and
The last of the comics that I chose.
the last of the ones that were chosen
Yeah.
without any help.
Yep, that's right. What help could there be?
And this week we're going to be reading, or we did read, All American Comics number 16.
Yeah.
From 1940.
Crazy.
Specifically, just the Green Lantern story in it. There's
Initially, we had talked about doing the whole thing, but everyone just sent in Green Lantern books, so we're like,
yeah, we're just going to talk about
which
this.
was great because I started trying to read
No
the
one
other
wanted
ones.
to talk about Hop Harrigan.
I know.
so-
I mean, I tried to get to that, and I was like, fuck this.
Yeah. So we're talking about, it's the first appearance of Alan Scott, the Golden Age Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And I was like, what better way to celebrate a Green Lantern than with a weird greenish drink?
Yeah. It's funny because
It's almost teal.
It's funny because they actually have a green drink, but you just wanted to try the Baja Blast and try to ham-fist it into this episode, and I'm here for
I mean,
it.
how dare you?
But I'm into it.
But that's exactly what
Yeah. Did you have you seen
happened.
that?
I bought Baja Blast is what happened.
Have you seen that thing where it's if you just combine 50% Mountain Dew and 50% Coke, it's Dr. Pepper?
What?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what I've heard.
I
I don't think it works for Baja
I
Blast.
think I've had a Baja Blast.
I don't think I
before.
ever have.
Um,
Because I think that's a American
What-
Taco Bell thing.
but what we didn't get it when we got Taco Bell in Ontario.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. All right, so here we go. Baja Blast in a bottle.
God, I drink soda so rarely.
Oh,
It tastes like cotton candy.
that tastes like water.
We have very different.
I mean, what I mean is, sorry.
I was like, Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you?
What I mean is, I was expecting a much bigger punch of flavor. This feels very like light. You know what I mean?
It just tastes like sugar to me. Holy shit.
I can't discern what the flavor of Baja Blast is meant to be.
Here's also a new problem
Is
that
it supposed to be a fruit thing?
it's Baja.
Carbonated water, sugars, citric acid, sodium benzoate.
Yeah, it's best not to look at
That's
the.
not going to tell me.
Yeah,
the
that's not going to
flavor.
do shit.
But what's the flavor?
Who first did a Baja Blast?
Yeah, who first blasted Baja?
But here's the thing, and I don't. I
It is
assume
very sweet.
I assume it's not sodas. I'm assuming that what it is the other component of this, which is. So I've been drinking because I got a soda stream years ago, and I haven't really drank
Sure.
like canned any carbonated canned drinks really. And lately it's been tasting like the carbonation and everything is super low. And I'm wondering if it's just because like even the baseline soda
Because
stream is higher.
you-
I used to use the mine is like a button system, so it's just like the lowest button is what I choose. But it's like everything tastes not carbonated enough.
This, I agree, feels not that
But
carbonated.
every drink feels like this to me lately.
Okay. I don't feel that way, but this one I do think doesn't feel that carbonated, and I also cannot, for the life of me, discern the flavor.
It tastes like cotton candy to me.
It's very sweet.
Remember when we had that space Coke?
Yeah. Do you know what? I do try the special flavor Cokes.
The
Like,
only
I got a Coke Zero here, the spiced Coke Zero.
how is that?
Raspberry spiced flavor.
What's spiced mean?
I just
Because isn't technically like
it's raspberry spice.
I guess raspberry's not a spice, but like
Tell it to the Coke,
Yeah.
man. I don't know.
I
just know that it's Coke, and I love Coke, so I have it. The Coke.
Old Skinos.
Now, if you don't mind me, I'm gonna blast some Baja.
Yeah. They that's like another name for cocaine, but
Yeah, he got arrested for blasting Baja at the
Yeah.
office Christmas party.
I mean,
It does sound like it.
yeah, I'm just gonna do a Baja blast in the bathroom and then I'll be right back.
Yeah, he said he had to recharge his lantern.
Yeah. We a soda that I recently got super into was the Pepsi Zero Lime.
Okay.
So fucking good.
I'm
I'm a Pepsi guy.
I'm a Coke guy.
yeah, that's okay.
And that's why we'll never get along.
It's like oil and water.
We just fundamentally have different worldviews.
I just wanted that jet, baby. All right. Well, you've heard us talk about it, but let's go into more detail. Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you.
Yeah, we're at the point where we explain the episode mid-intro.
Yeah, baby. 6 minutes in. It's prescribed reading month.
Yep,
We're talking about the Golden Age Green Lantern.
that's right.
Now let's talk about All American Comics. The first part of that number 16 issue.
The Green Lantern story that's in
Yes.
All American Comics 16.
That's right, baby.
So, Green Lantern, created by Martin Nodell.
Nodell, of course it was.
Although he's credited as, like, Dellin.
Because
like,
isn't Bill Finger written on the...
Bill Finger wrote this. So the vague story is that Martin Nodell went to All American Comics, was like, I'd like to write comics. They were like, do you have a superhero for us? He was like, no. And they were like, then go away. And he went away and he was like, he came up with an idea for a superhero that was sort of based in some of his interests, which include like Greek mythology, Chinese mythology,
Sure.
I guess trains. I don't know. But he comes back and he goes, here's my pitch. The character's called Green Lantern, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, awesome. We want you to focus on the art, so we're going to bring Bill Finger in to write.
Okay.
So the character is created by Martin Nodell. But you're right, Bill Finger is a credited writer
Nice.
on the story.
So,
This is from 1940.
yeah. Fucking old as hell.
Yeah, baby.
It was really hard to find a good quality one that's
I mean,
available digitally.
hard to find until you just went,
Go
what's
directly
your
to
DC,
DC.
universe?
Yeah, unless you go directly to
Password.
DC.
Yeah.
Everything else is like the most like fucking Fallout era, like disintegrated book.
Yeah, exactly. So
So, let's go through the first.
let's go through this story, this Green Lantern story.
Yes. So the cover. I fucking hate this costume. By the end of this book, I hate the costume less, and we'll get to why. But
because they kind of explain
yes,
it.
yes. He and I figured out what this costume looks like.
Okay.
This is like if every single McDonald's character produced a child by fucking each other.
Produce one child.
Yes.
Yeah.
This.
Okay.
Think about it.
Mayor McCheese.
Well, I mean more of like the core four, but yeah.
Sorry, who are the core four of it? Ronald
Grimace,
the
the Hamburglar,
Hamburglar.
and the fucking duck.
You think the chicken nugget duck
Yeah,
is
yeah,
more
yeah.
core four
1000%.
than Mayor McCheese?
When was the last time you
we
saw?
don't have time to get into this.
It's the most divisive thing I've said all night.
We'll settle this on Patreon. We're gonna do a fight night episode of just us arguing McDonald's characters.
This was so they on the Get Played podcast. They just recently did an episode where they rank the most iconic video game characters,
Ooh.
and fucking like Nick gets angry.
Oh, really? Does he have some opinions about it?
It's so funny. For somebody who's like chill about other things,
Right.
Yeah. It's very funny. So this story introduced Alan Scott.
Alan Scott.
He's an engineer, train engineer.
Yes.
I'll say right away, I'm sure this has come up in the last 7 years. Definitely did not know that the original Green Lantern was like a Western fucking train cowboy story.
I mean, it's not really a cowboy story at all.
Sure, but
There's
like
just a train.
they're in the Old West.
They're not really.
It looks like it
He's
based
in
on the like,
city. Green Lantern's based in Gotham.
but it doesn't look like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not like an Old West thing.
It feels like it, yeah. Especially his costume.
The train thing is
And the fucking
when they do his origin, they often come back to that. In a couple of alternate universe things, like in Earth 2, in the New 52, I think he's like a media mogul. He runs like a broadcasting thing or whatever.
weird.
It's a little bit different. But for the most part, he's an engineer.
So apparently this fucking guy, what's his name? Decker.
Yeah.
Whoever Alan Scott works for won the contract to build this train,
Right.
This railroad.
Right.
And Decker's so mad that he fucking kills everybody.
The first 3 panels of this story are Alan Scott's like, hey, great, we built the train. Or like train tracks. Yeah. And the other guy's like, I hope Decker won't do anything. And he's like, I'm sure he won't. And then, boom, the train
Everyone
explodes.
dies.
Everyone dies. Alan goes, I didn't die. And I'm still holding this lantern. He's already holding a green lantern.
So funny.
And then he's like, I'm still holding this lantern. Those are the first 3 panels of the story.
So funny.
And then we flash back 1,000 years.
Yes. So the story then shifts to China, where the story truly begins.
Yeah.
I do like. There's so many things about this page.
Sure.
So one, I like that it says many years ago in old China.
Yeah.
Back in old China.
Yeah, back in old China.
Not like ancient China.
No, old.
I love old China.
old
Something about
China.
old China really makes me laugh.
Yeah. I want that old China. Oh, China's old. Old.
That's good. Also, a green meteor falls.
Yeah.
They
Meteor falls in a village and people and it speaks.
does this book say who did the lettering?
No, but I don't know that they necessarily had a separate letterer on this story.
Because someone fucked up.
Why? What did
They
say?
misspelled awe-stricken by just missing the I.
Ostrican?
Yeah, it's just awe-stricken but without the I.
Interesting.
If you see it, it's unmistakable. It's not there.
Interesting.
It's a very weird. Like, you should be able to just immediately see it.
Sorry, I'm just.
Where's the I?
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're right.
I was like, is that a U? And then I was like, well, then where's
No.
the C? And then I was like, no, that's just, they just didn't put the I.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
Very weird.
Many years ago in old China.
So funny. I also like that they say, it is from the evil one. I'm like, what?
Yeah, which, I mean...
They don't explain.
I know that Martin Nadell had an interest in Chinese mythology. That's not to say he knew everything about it or whatever.
Nor how much he had to say
But
in
I'm
this.
going to assume the evil one is something.
Sure.
But... yeah.
I also do like, I mean, all of the writing on this page is like written back and forth through Google Translate a few times.
Sure.
I like that it says just as the old book said, yeah, the old book.
Yeah, in old China.
Yeah.
What part of this are you getting? It's old.
They had one book and
Yeah.
it was in China.
The old one.
Yeah.
But the meteor is like covered in green flame, and the flame speaks.
Yes.
And it says,
I will
I'm the
flash
green-
3 times.
I'm the green flame of life. I will flash 3 times. Once for death, once to bring life, or once to bring death, once to bring life, and once to bring power.
Yeah.
And right away, this one guy in the village is like, that talking meteor would make a dope lamp.
So funny. Immediately.
He's like, was that thing sentient? I'll make a lamp out of it.
So funny.
So he fashions it into a lamp, and the rest of the town's like, this is heresy, I think. And they beat him to death. And then the lamp freaks out and kills all of them.
Yes.
And it goes, I told you I'd bring death. And it's like,
But here's the funny thing, too.
end of the China chapter.
You're like, oh, the next thing must be life. No, it does a bunch of other shit in between.
Well, no, it just exists.
No. But they were saying, it's like for good people, good things happen. For bad things
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
And I was like, so it does other stuff. It just also
Yeah,
flashes occasionally.
Yeah. But then we flash forward to
It's like a Louis C.K. It does a lot of other stuff, but occasionally it
oh
flashes.
no, oh no, oh dear,
But,
good lord.
Wants
to ask if I can do this in front of you.
Yeah. Wants to do it anyways in
Wants
case.
to do it anyway.
Yeah. And wants to
And then
do
wants to get another Netflix special.
Yeah, and call it like
Triggered.
too edgy for
Yeah.
comedy. The lamp then ends up in the 40s, I guess.
No, earlier, because I
Oh.
think it's like
Oh yeah, no,
the
a little bit earlier.
1800s or something.
No, because it eventually ends up in like an insane asylum.
Yeah, but I thought that was in like the 19th century. No?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it's hard to know because I could also see somebody in the 1940s calling an insane person an old coot.
True.
Which is a thing that they say.
True. So this guy is there, and he's like, this crazy green lamp.
I know I'm crazy, but this lamp is crazy.
Yeah, a lamp. By lamp, I mean like Aladdin style.
Yes. Yeah. Because you think that it's going to be the train lamp, but it's not.
No, he's like, I'll take this lamp and I'll turn it into a lantern.
Yes, because I apparently also have this ability.
Even though I'm crazy in an asylum.
Yeah.
And he does that, and then he's like, I'm sane now.
I can't explain it to anybody,
My idea
but
to turn a lamp into a lantern made me good.
who would have thought? Sometimes it's a crazy idea.
And the lantern's like, I told you I'd bring life. A new life.
It'd be funny if he then like shoots himself. He's like, I didn't get sane.
Yeah. This isn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
I don't feel like myself anymore. Oh, shit. Fuck. What is
We then cut back to Alan Scott. I like the lamp. Oh fuck!
I was imagining like the saw.
Yeah.
like, shit.
Oh, the Rivers Langley thing too.
Oh, no,
yeah.
I was thinking of the what's it called? The dropout.
Oh
one
yeah.
where Jigsaw unprepared.
Oh, hold on.
You'll see a box in front of you. No,
there's no box.
There's no box. Shit. Fuck. Give me a sec.
So fucking funny.
I bet you're afraid of fire. No, not really. Really? Oh, fuck.
So we then cut back to Alan Scott finally, and I will give him credit. They do mention willpower here.
So, yeah, he's like, I'm still holding this. I can't believe I'm alive. What is happening? There's this like energy in me, and then the lamp's like, it's time for my third miracle. And the lamp explains that it is, again, it's the green flame of life. Green as in all living things, plants and stuff like
Sure,
that.
yeah.
There's a little reference to that there. And then it says, and I grant you power. All you need is the
Hold on.
willpower to act on it, sort of thing.
I need to now talk about the next part.
Sure.
Because I do love that the lamp says that its own technology is poorly designed. And it's like, you're gonna need a peripheral.
To be fair, part of it was in old China, and one of it was a crazy guy.
It's so funny because he's just like,
Alan's like, do I need to carry this lantern everywhere? It's
I-
like, you could like break a piece
Yeah.
off me and wear it, I
you want
guess.
to break off a piece.
But you got to touch me together
Every once in a while
once every 24
Yeah.
hours.
It's like when fucking Apple makes the bottom of the mouse where you have to plug it in. It's like,
Yeah.
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 It's like, this is just bad design.
Yeah. Pairing.
Yeah.
Pairing.
Well, or can you forget this
Yeah.
ring and then
You forget it and then try to like find it again. Like, yeah,
so-
you're right. It's like, yeah, I guess I am a bit clunky. Just like rip a bit off and put it on your finger.
It's makes me laugh. Just immediately, it's like, I will give you ultimate power, but like,
But
it's-
you have a little bit of work to do.
yeah.
First.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
So he tests his new power and learns how to control them.
Well, yeah. So he makes a ring.
Yeah.
He makes the ring look like a mini lantern
Because he also has that ability with metalwork. It's so great that all of these people.
He's an engineer. What part of this don't you get?
I mean, I suppose, yeah. I apologize.
Uh,
It was a lamp guy, then a
Yeah.
crazy guy,
And-
obviously
yeah.
knows how to make shit,
obviously.
and then an engineer.
I mean, imagine how dumb he would be if he was called Green Lamp.
Yeah. Green lamp turn.
Lamp turn. I'm still learning your Earth languages.
I do love that. Also, he's like, so he decides that he's like, all right, now I learned how to use this power. As long as I think of something, I can do it. Which is sort of what
More
we
or
get.
less, yeah.
And I do love that he's like, time for me to go fucking murder the guy that murdered my friends.
Yeah, Decker's gonna shit when he sees what I can
Yeah,
do.
yeah. So he figured he just thought of flying and can fly.
Yeah.
He gets
And then he's like, can I move through the fourth dimension?
That's what I was just
And he does it right away.
He's like, I mean, I could think of anything. I guess my first thought is, could I use the fourth dimension
Here's what I'm gonna
to
say.
vibrate through?
Here's what I'm gonna say in its defense. If the point is that it's willpower, I do like that. Like it's intentional. Like in most other
Sure.
origin things, he'd be like, "Whoa, how did I do that?"
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
he would
yeah.
like, but it's like, so I do kind of. I respect that it's intentional, but you know, this comic is written in 1940. It's like 9 pages long. It's like there's
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean?
They
Like,
gotta get a lot in here.
you get what you get. It's like, you know,
So the Green Lantern then uses his newfound powers to confront the criminals.
the criminals are like, it's Alan Scott, the train engineer, because he doesn't have a costume or anything.
Yeah.
But he just phases through this wall, and by phasing, it's that he's traveling technically, I guess, through time.
Yes.
And he ends up in there, and they're shooting, and nothing works.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, fuck. But then he gets clubbed with a wooden stick, and that works. And he goes, I guess I'm only immune to metal, which is a great line.
It is very good. A big question I have is Decker Hitler? Because he looks a lot like Hitler.
I think that's unfair. I think lots of people loved that mustache.
Yeah. And the slicked black hair.
Yeah, it was the style at the time,
Mm-hmm.
briefly. And then it very much wasn't.
But you feel like that specific time period would have been the end of it.
Yeah, it does feel a little
Or
late.
feels quite intentional.
Or it's just that they're like, he's bad guy, let him look like Hitler.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Which is what I kind of thought.
Yeah.
So he foils their plans and brings them to justice.
Yeah.
Alan then says he's going to kill Decker,
Yeah.
but then he gets Decker to sign a confession.
Yeah. Well,
So
does he at this point, I think
he flies him to the
am
police.
I misremembering though, where he's like, do you know what? I was gonna kill him, but like it's better if I get him to sign a confession.
But
So he flies him over the town.
I don't know if he says that. I think he just says
Oh, really?
because what he does is he flies him over the. He says before I make it so you can't see anything ever again.
Oh.
I'm gonna get something out of you.
Yeah.
And so then he flies him to a place to get the signature. And on the flight, he's like, just heads up, gonna kill you. And then
Yeah.
they get there, and that's when he's like,
He makes him sign a confession, and he scares this guy so bad he has a heart attack and dies.
or they just didn't want to show him that he fucking killed him.
Well, yeah, but either way, that's smart.
He definitely killed Decker.
Yeah.
like, I mean, what are the chances he got scared to death, or the guy that kept saying he's going to kill him just killed him off panel?
Sorry. You're actually saying it's a conspiracy
Yeah.
that we're not seeing that he killed him?
Yeah.
That the guy went, oh, like kind of grabbed his chest, and then Alan was like, you reading that, look away.
I think
Tell no one what you saw.
I think in between panels he was just like phased through his fucking heart or something.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Oh."
Yeah, put your heart through the fourth dimension.
Yeah. That sounds like a good fucking 80s song.
Oh, yeah.
Put your heart through the fourth dimension.
Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
It's immediately a Doobie Brothers song.
I can't make it anything else. So this is the part that I was talking about.
Okay.
Which is Alan decides he's like, I guess I'm gonna be a hero.
Yeah.
But I need a costume so bad.
That people won't forget it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where this costume comes from.
I mean, to be fair, he doesn't say bad.
He say bizarre.
Yeah.
But like
Listen, I have also shit on this costume, but I love it.
I know you love
I
it.
love this costume so much.
But this finally does explain where it comes from.
Yeah, but it's not like he's like, He's not like, everybody knows that criminals can't see more than 4 colors. Or like,
I mean, that is the thing that I feel like would come out in this.
But yeah, that's the story.
I'm now allergic to wood, and criminals can't see more than 4 colors.
But here's the thing. Here's what we set up in this story. We set up his power.
Yep.
How it works.
Willpower. Yeah.
Willpower, right? We set up that it's basically magic.
It's a ring and a lamp.
The ring and the lamp, the 24-hour recharge cycle.
Yeah.
We set up he's weak against wood, that he's largely invulnerable, that he can phase through objects, that he can fly.
Yeah.
Like, pretty solid in like a really short story, actually.
Totally.
We get a pretty... the only thing we really don't get in this is any sense of who Alan Scott is.
Or space.
Or that, yeah. Well, I mean, you really don't get space in this. That's the Silver Age
Sure. Yeah.
reinvention of Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Space has nothing to do with...
But there
Alan
is an
Scott.
advertisement for...
Other than, I guess, that it's a meteor.
I think that they must have immediately given him his own book, because I think like the second page in this thing is like, follow the Green Lantern story. Like...
No,
because I thought that's an advertisement on like the second page or something.
No, I think that's just about this one. But
Oh.
I think he do they eventually they do eventually give Green Lantern his own book, I think. But for the most part, he was in All American Comics and stuff like that, All Star Comics, and he'd make appearances elsewhere.
It is funny that All American Comics never became the like Green Lantern book, considering that like
I mean, it's sort of what he was the lead.
Yeah.
Story.
Sure.
Because it was a hit. People liked Green Lantern and really latched onto that. But you're right. It doesn't really have the legacy of like
Action Comics or Detective Comics.
Totally. And part of that, I think, is that when superhero comics sort of fell off, eventually the sales weren't good enough. Because All American Comics and Detective Comics were like both the same company, but sort of separate, or like National Allied and whatever.
Sure.
They all become one thing basically as they consolidate in the early 50s or late 40s or whatever. I mean, they were more or less one company, but I think they had like
divisions
or something like that. There's some sort of weird structural thing.
Sure, yeah.
But
yeah, that's
but yeah, I mean, a decent amount kind of set up and thrown in there, and it is fun to go back to this one, and then you go like the Silver Age one, for all that it changed, keeps
a lot
most of the core, like most important elements or whatever, you know what I mean?
A lantern, a ring, a fucking
you gotta charge it. You gotta.
Yeah.
There's an oath. Like the oath in here is the like, I shall shine my light over the darkness, for darkness cannot stand the light.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's almost there. Yeah.
And it is in a later Alan Scott adventure the first time you get the Brightest Day oath. That's not a like 50s invention.
Wow. Okay.
It's in a Golden Age comic, but it's not for a while.
Sure. Yeah.
So sometimes like the modern retcon is that this original one is Alan's oath.
Okay.
And then the Brightest Day, Blackest Night thing is like the space Green Lantern Corps oath.
Sure. Yeah.
That's sort of the retcon now for it. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, even an oath, like all these pieces of Green Lantern are in there right from the get-go.
Does the original creator ever get like... Did they get anything from creating like Green Lantern?
Martin Nodell?
Yeah, like
I mean, not more than anyone else. You're writing for hire at a company that owns the property.
Sure.
Like I'm pretty sure when Green Lantern is in stuff, you see the like created by Martin Nodell or whatever.
Nice.
Martin Nodell's granddaughter runs like an awesome blog / podcast or whatever.
Oh, wow.
About comics and sequential art and stuff like that, which is really cool. But
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, why don't we get into all the questions?
Well, hang on.
What? Oh.
Did you like this?
Oh.
Would you read more Golden Age Green Lantern?
No.
Interesting.
No. I mean, there's not much there.
I mean, fair.
Like, and what is there is
you weren't hooked with Old China?
Yeah, no. I mean, more of like a new China fan.
Whoa.
But I think that it's a Golden Age book. I mean, but also it doesn't have the like fun of a lot of like the Golden Age stuff I like.
I will say, even by the standard of Golden Age books, this one feels
Rushed.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, Bill Finger, a great writer. We know what we owe Bill Finger.
Yeah. But we got
terms of Batman.
Ostracan.
But like, well, I don't even mean that. I just mean like, you know, like the Case of the Chemical Syndicate, the first Batman story, is like a way.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a lot in there, and it's a more linear thing. I think. I mean, it's also more pages. I think this is also a short story, but like Action Number 1, the Superman's first appearance is also a weird story with like a 3-panel origin.
Yeah.
But it's better. Yeah. This is a weird one, I would say. It's weirder than Flash Comics number 1, I think. Yeah. But I do think it's impressive. I think you can see that Martin Nodell went away and came up with everything.
Totally.
Because it's all in there. There's like, you go like, oh, okay, got it. Like the only things that are missing there really are years later or issues later, whatever it was, they would eventually let him make constructs.
Okay, yeah.
That's not really a thing in here.
Sure. No.
But like, and they would be like a little bit more explicit about his weakness to wood and stuff like that. But like, for the most part, it's kind of all there.
I think for me, what I like about Green Lantern is barely there.
Sure, but is that because do you mean that you prefer like the concept of the Silver Age one, like the core?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like the space and like it's like I like the willpower thing. That's cool.
Sure.
I like a ring, but like this just barely needs that. That's more of just bad design in this rather than anything else. And like it.
Yeah. And I mean, those things, it's all the manufacturing obstacles for them, right? Where it's like, I gotta charge this once a day. I have this thing here.
Yeah. I have
this could get lost or stolen. That's over.
Yeah. I only have the strength of a man. Good thing I'm already a kick-ass fighter.
Yeah.
I like those are the things that I think are interesting, but like not enough for me to be like, I want this character.
Sure. So like out of 5 capes.
Oh, I have 2.5.
I do kind of think it's a 2.5.
Yeah,
I want to be warmer on it because
of what it leads to.
But like, let's be honest.
Yeah. It's a lukewarm like entry for a thing that becomes great.
It also sucks that we only get his costume in a panel at the end.
It's so funny.
Yeah, it's not like he's chasing Decker and then he like trips. A thrift store and he's like, good enough. And he kind of keeps,
That's funny. I like that idea. But yeah, that's Action or All American Comics number 16.
That's right, baby.
All right. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. This time of the year can be tough. It's cold and dark outside and you feel like you're all peopled out. How do you set boundaries and give yourself the alone time you need? Most people don't have an endless social battery. Therapy can help you listen to your body and give yourself the time to recharge. In the past few years, I have made choices that have improved every part of my life, and I honestly wouldn't have been able to do any of it without therapy. Through therapy, I have gained confidence and learned to draw important boundaries. If you want to make things better or just a bit easier, or you want somebody to talk to, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, so it's easier to fit into any schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And you can even switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/DrDC today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DRDC. Now let's get to the questions.
Sure.
Which means we're going over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and blast them. Baja style.
Wow. Love that. With cocaine. From Dem Jinkies.
Still don't know what the flavor is.
Sweet. That's what. I don't know why people like it so much. It's too much.
Is it like white freezy?
Dem Jinkies asks, I hate stop doing that. Did they ever explain why his weakness was wood in the original continuity? I know that in the New 52 Earth 2, it was because of the Lantern's connection to the green, but I can't think of an explanation in the original era.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, I mean, it's set up in this story. This is not a later thing, but like he gets hit with a wood stick, and it works. The eventual and current, basically, explanation for it is that the star heart, or the green flame of life that gives him his power, is connected to a sort of life force, or is a version of a kind of like life force. And so things that are kind of adjacent to that life force, like plants, or, you know, even like it says in this comic, green growing things, or whatever, that the idea, I think the way they put it eventually in the comics is that you can't defend against yourself, sort of thing. And so that is ultimately the sort of hand-wavy explanation for the weakness to wood.
Because he's made of wood?
But it also, I think, more... Well, no, because it's like... You're just not listening. I explained the whole life force thing. No, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do think it works ultimately because, like, one of his big bad guys is Solomon Grundy, who is like a zombie from a swamp, and he kind of all this kind of plant matter and stuff like that in there. Like, these are ideas that are like developed over time, not necessarily fleshed out in the Golden Age.
Wouldn't it make more sense for it to be Swamp Thing, or?
Except Swamp Thing didn't exist.
Oh, really? At all?
No, Swamp Thing didn't exist until the 70s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's no Swamp Thing before that.
Wow.
But all of that stuff kind of like, I think it makes some sense. But I think there's also like not in continuity, a sort of like practical version of it too, which is like, it's not that exciting to watch your hero get shot. So
sure,
his power should obviously just handle bullets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then you get in close, but then it's like, oh, the thing I didn't think about. Someone's got like a bat. You know, like, there's something a little more kinetic about like, oh, he got conked on the head and now we drag him to our lair. Like, the same thing ultimately is true of like kryptonite. You know, Superman that wasn't originally a thing. But when they introduce it, what it does is it introduces an element of like proximity. You know, like the least interesting version of using kryptonite is putting it in a gun and shooting it. It's always more interesting when it's something up close, or like, oh, like, why don't you look in this box, Superman?
Sure,
You know, like, it's that kind of shit. So I think there's like a practical kind of storytelling consideration of like, whatever his weakness is, it should be something that like gets people in close, you know, for in a fight or something like that. So, so I do think that's part of it too. But ultimately, the explanation is that it's his power being sort of magically connected to like life, and sometimes explicitly the green, but in a more general sense, green life growing things, that sort of energy. It won't repel that. It'll repel like these kind of cold, like machine things, or, you know, rocks, or like that kind of shit, you know.
Even though rocks are part of the Earth.
I mean, but they're not living.
No, I suppose not, but...
No, they're not.
Yeah.
I suppose not. You're one of those fucking rock lifers.
If you want to have that limited of a view.
Life begins at Geo.
Malachite.
Insane protester.
Next question comes from Alfred Izzati, who asks, is Alan Scott's costume a projection of his ring like other Green Lanterns, or is it an actual costume?
Well, I mean, based on this issue, it's an actual costume. Because he's like, I better pick something to dress up as.
Yeah, let me find the stupidest thing I can possibly fucking
something
fine.
so outrageous no one will forget it,
Yeah.
which is kind of great.
Yeah.
But I think the more modern version of it is, again, his power is mostly magical. And so it's, Green Lantern makes costumes and stuff out of will. He basically does the same. Whether his power is magic or whatever is actually almost secondary. So Alan's costume now is magic, I would say.
Okay.
It's a thing he creates by being Green Lantern.
Yeah.
But back then, at least for the first little bit, it's like an actual costume.
So when Green Lanterns, like, their ring stops working, do they just get naked?
No, it's they what they usually do is it's like what they were wearing. So like for Hal, whenever if his ring gets taken, he ends up in like a bomber jacket. And pants and shit like they usually do it that way.
Then how is the construct able to like is it just squishing in the outfit then? Speed Force.
Well, because here's the other thing. It's not a construct the way the other things are constructs. It's just a glowing green brick.
No. It is fabric, technically.
It's like fabric.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it reorganizing matter? Like you kind of go like, what is the ring doing? It's doing a lot.
Yeah. It's best not to think too hard about it.
Yeah.
All right.
The explanation generally is that like a thing like a uniform is sort of like almost programmed into the ring. Like this is a very complex function, but you all need it. Whereas like we didn't like program it with like how to make anything.
Yeah, we don't know what like American speed trains are, so that's on you.
Yeah, we barely know lamp from lantern. If
Yeah.
we're being honest.
Yeah, we thought it was a lamp turn.
Yeah, a lamp turn. And you shall be Green Lamp turn. What? Is that negotiable? No.
No, we looked it up. That's the thing you guys
Is this
use.
still the meteor talking?
Yeah.
Bring me my Green Lamp turn.
For my fourth flash. All right.
Yeah. Once to bring death, twice to bring life, a third time to bring power, and a fourth to confuse.
Yeah. From Martian Crisis, who asks, Alan Scott has been retconned to be one of DC's queer characters. Is there any aspect of the original that could lead itself to such a reinterpretation? I'm not asking if the author intended it this way, but rather in the spirit that Doom Patrol was reinterpreted to be a trans allegory, and the original can be viewed using that lens.
I mean, far be it from me to say, but I don't know that the entire Doom Patrol is a trans allegory. There are trans characters and trans allegories on the Doom Patrol. I don't know if the whole Doom Patrol is a trans allegory, although I do kind of take your point. Like, Negative Man goes through some pretty wild body soul stuff.
Yeah.
Robot Man is like a brain in the wrong body, like literally. Like I take your point.
Alan Scott's responsible for running trains.
Come on. I mean, come on. God damn it.
Just say he likes the caboose.
I mean, who doesn't?
I mean, truly, though.
Yeah. What I'll say is, I've not read every Golden Age adventure of Alan Scott. I don't really think you could go back and read those and be like, that's the moment I knew. Or rather, I don't think you could do that in a vacuum.
Sure.
The thing that I think works for Alan Scott, and I'm saying this as a straight guy who wouldn't have like seen or picked up on cues if there were.
Straight?
Well, mostly. Straight enough.
What does that mean?
Ladies.
For what?
I don't know. I'm getting confused.
Yeah,
Fourth to confuse. I think the thing that worked for Alan Scott is actually the stuff that kind of happens after the Golden Age, where he is a little bit more of like a elder statesman. even in the Silver Age, where we had Earth 1 and Earth 2, where they were parallel Earths that would team up occasionally, he was definitively like older than Hal.
Yeah.
And when we post-crisis make them one timeline where Golden Age characters take place like in that era, in the 40s and stuff like that, and then the Silver Age ones takes place later. Alan becomes this sort of elder statesman, and even though he had a couple of like comic book romances, we rarely see that.
Sure.
And so much of it is just about him, like, is a lot of like mentorship and like leading other heroes and stuff like that. And he's a relatively solitary figure too. You know, he's on the Justice Society. I don't mean that he's a loner, but solitary almost in the way that Batman is a little solitary. He obviously teams up. He obviously has people he could depend on, blah, 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 blah. But Green Lantern as a power is unlike many others, you know, and he's capable of handling things on his own. He's one of like the powerhouses of the Justice Society. I think when you put someone in that position, you sort of remove them from everyday life a little bit. Like you encounter Alan so much more as a superhero than a person is where I'm going with this.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah.
So because we're not spending as much time, I should say, it's not that we don't spend any, but because we're not spending as much time on his like inner life, I think it does leave it open to explore. And so when Alan was in the New 52, when they made the Earth 2 Alan Scott gay, that didn't feel crazy to me. I mean, if you ask the internet, it was wild.
Sure.
But that didn't feel crazy to me. And it's not that I was like, yeah, I always got that vibe from him. It was just more like,
I didn't get any vibe.
it was like, sure.
Yeah.
I guess he could be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, but that version caught on. And so when eventually we brought back the proper Justice Society on the main continuity, the choice was made that our Alan should be too.
Yeah.
And I like what I mean, again, we don't explore it a ton, but we do a little bit of this through Infinite Frontier and stuff like that, of seeing Alan basically, who is already a father to kind of estranged children and stuff like that, have to say like, I'm finally being honest about myself for the first, like there's something very interesting about and kind of metaphorical about a character that we didn't get enough of his inner life until really late in his comic book career. And now we're getting it, but he's also doing that. He's like, I didn't allow myself to be honest and stuff like that until this age.
Sure.
Like, there's something kind of interesting about
that.
that.
I like that.
That sort of matches. But like, to me, my reading of it, because just from my perspective, is it's not like I don't think you would go back and go like, yeah, this guy for sure. But I think you would go back and you would see like, there's not enough to say he wasn't. I think that's more what it is. It's like the absence, because he had a romance with the Harlequin, and he had a romance with Thorn, but both of those are like, I don't know, they're fine. You know what I mean? Like they're not like a love story like no other or something like that.
It's not like Green Arrow and like Black Canary.
Totally. So yeah, to me, you could just go and you go like, romantically, he's actually, there's lots of room to make this part of his story, and you're not really undoing anything at all.
Sure.
If anything, you're making it more interesting because there wasn't that much there.
Totally.
You know?
I like that. All right, next question from Mr. E64, who asks, that's even more creative than Mr. Imagination, which is Mr. E.
Yeah. But there's 63 other people did it. Well, sorry, 64 other people did it first.
Yes.
Yeah. That's how you know it's imaginative, when everyone comes up with it.
Yeah, exactly. either of you read the new Alan Scott miniseries? I'm enjoying the new lore, but I don't think it does a good job showcasing Alan Scott's personality. Are there any Alan Scott stories in his solo adventures or in the JSA that do a good job showing who Alan is as a character?
So, first part of this, I am reading that Alan Scott book, and I like it. It's really interesting. So part of what's happening is that we're exploring a previously forgotten, removed from the timeline bit of history and memory, which is the Golden Age Red Lantern.
Oh.
So we're going back and revisiting his origin as this sort of dual thing, that there's a red flame and a green flame.
Interesting.
And this sort of thing. Now, when we were at Toronto Comic-Con, the one panel we went to was a Green Lantern panel with Jeremy Adams and Tim Sheridan. Tim Sheridan's the writer of this Alan Scott series.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And the thing that I loved that Tim Sheridan talked about, which what he said was, because we're doing this thing where it's like whole bits of history have been like, quote, like put back. Like the idea of this is that, and they did it, I can't remember what book you see it in. They like make up that the like Golden Age Red Lantern appeared in like All American Comics 17 or something like that.
Sure.
Like they put a fake kind of first appearance in.
I do like that.
These characters had always been there or whatever, and that we forgot, which is like, that's the sort of nerdy shit I love. But what Tim Sheridan is doing in this book is that the person that is the Red Lantern is also is like a romantic interest of Alan's. And so his approach, and he talked about this, is that like part of the reason that we come to Alan's coming out so late is because his origin and this villain we forgot about are inextricably also tied to him actually expressing his sexual like his sexual preference and stuff like that. And removing that actually like stole something from Alan that he could feel was different about him, but he couldn't figure it out.
Oh, that's interesting.
So what this story is doing is putting back that idea, like using this like sci-fi mechanic or this retcon mechanic to actually go and then put this other emotional component into a story. We know that in 2024 Alan Scott is gay, but when we go back to 1940, we go, was he gay then? And go like, yeah, of course he was. And go, well, how come like he blah blah blah? And like part of it is the era and part of it is denying it for himself or whatever. But now Tim Sheridan has put this story in where it's like he actually had romance, he had these things, and they were taken from him, and in taking those memories and that thing, it actually like it set him back. You know, it made him less who he was or whatever. So there's something very interesting about that. And I'm butchering the explanation of that, but Tim Sheridan spoke very eloquently about it. That I find very interesting. On the question of Alan's personality, that's kind of a tough one. Because to be honest, I'd say the most definitive versions of Alan's personality are him older, where he's like very sure, very like,
sure, yeah.
I remember, not that he's a soldier, but he's like definitive.
Yeah.
He's a leader. You know, if you look at like Alan during Final Crisis, like gets on, they make like a last ditch internet thing to connect everyone, and he's like, "We need you to hold these citadels," blah 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 blah. Like
he's very like the Greatest Generation kind of,
100%. He's like, "We will hold this line," you know, like. And so much of that is what I think of Alan's personality. And even Earth 2, they made him maybe a little bit more like arrogant, brash. And that's an interesting angle. Makes sense for a Green Lantern in some respects to be very willful.
Yes.
Things like that. I think it makes sense for a younger version of Alan to be a little bit like that. What's neat about that Alan Scott miniseries is that I would argue that Alan is actually... That's probably it's a more unsure version of Alan Scott than I think we get in a lot of things. And some of that has to do with the powers, the Red Lantern. Some of that has to do with the romance side, the hiding who he is, and like those kind of things.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't know necessarily that I have a super clear image based on this Alan Scott miniseries of his personality, the way we do like Clark, Bruce.
Sure.
There are some where it's just like, that's not Bruce. That like you could kind of like at this point go like, no, yes, no, yeah, like whatever. Alan's slightly more amorphous, I would say, but I do think it is definitively either different or just more interesting than young Alan had been.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, like I said, when I think of Alan Scott's personality, I'm thinking of like elder statesman Alan Scott.
Yeah.
A guy who's been through it. I've led the Justice Society. I blah, blah, blah. And a little less early career him. You know, there are stories that deal with his early career, and I think in general, the idea is maybe if we had to ascribe traits to him, brash is not a bad one. A little like, I don't know what's another good word for it would be, but like
Cocksure.
yeah, I mean it's different from Hal.
Yeah.
Hal's kind of like a watch this sort of cocksure.
Hold my beer. Yeah.
And Alan's just more like, I got a magic ring. What's gonna happen? And then he's like, oh fuck, it's wood. You know, like
Yeah.
like it's a different sort of cocksureness, but similar. So maybe it's just an inherent sort of Green Lantern trait a little bit, but yeah.
Well, with that, why don't we leave Instagram and head on over to the doc score?
Hang on.
Do you need fuel?
I need to blast up.
Oh, okay.
Baha, an idea.
Jesus fucking Christ. Uh-huh.
I actually didn't have an idea. I came up with that cool Baja joke.
Yo quiero taco hell.
That's what I'm in right now.
Yeah.
Just bear with me. Bear with me.
Okay.
Yep.
Just like anything.
Oh, Doc scored. Here I Doc again. Doc scored. How could I Doc scored you?
Cool. How was that?
Here's the thing.
I do like when your wife, Mrs. DC, comes in and goes, "Hey, when you're done the podcast, do you want to watch this movie?" And for like a good 5 seconds, you don't respond, and then you go, "Yeah."
Here's the thing. I said I would watch Mamma Mia with her. I'm actually surprisingly like on board with Mamma Mia as a musical. Like,
okay.
It's something dumb. It's silly. Let's enjoy some fun songs.
Do you like a jukebox musical?
I mean,
more than
sometimes.
regular musicals?
No, actually, probably less.
Okay.
But I'm like, it's just dumb. The plot's dumb. We all know it's dumb, but we're just here for a good time.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of on board with that.
Yeah, because it knows what it is.
And Mamma Mia is like relatively joyful. It's like that. Then I'm cool, great. But we were watching this movie, and I think it might be the most aggressively poorly shot film I've ever seen. It was like, I actually like couldn't watch it. Half the time, the thing that the camera was pointed at was not like centered in the, like it wasn't like framed properly. And like the camera's moving constantly, like not in a way where it's like, here's a cool pan shot or something like that. It was like they handed the camera to Michael J. Fox and they were like,
oh no,
let's film Mamma Mia.
Oh no.
Like
Jesus.
I was like halfway through, I was like, I think I'm done. And I walked out.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What did save that movie for me is Stellan Skarsgård's sort of opinion about his experience.
Oh, what was his opinion?
Well, he was like, I first heard that I was asked to be put in this movie, and I was like, I'm not doing this fucking movie. I don't even know how to sing. And then I found out that what's his name was in it.
Oh, Brosnan.
Yeah. And he's like, well, he can't sing either, so that's fine.
Totally.
And he's like, I was just happy to be the dumb, like, pretty person in it.
So here's the thing, though. I would have watched that whole movie and been fine with it if it was shot at all like a movie.
Yeah.
It's truly, it's the cinematography. I can't believe that's the critique, but it's that. I like, it's almost actually unwatchable.
That's crazy.
But like, There's so much about that movie I love. Like it's not just Stellan Skarsgård. It's Stellan, Pierce Brosnan, and Colin Firth.
Oh, that's right.
All three of which basically can't sing.
No.
And then on the other side, you have
They get to play the bimbos.
you have Meryl Streep, Christine Baranski, and Molly Weasley.
Yeah.
Very funny. It's like it's a fun time. The sun's shining. We're out on the water. It's like all of that stuff I'm in for. It's like very dumb and very silly, but I was like, it was crazy.
Bad cinematography. That's what ruins Mamma Mia.
It's like someone put a "this end up" sticker the wrong way on the camera, and then they shot the movie.
And gave it to Michael J.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I don't know, Doc. I was trying to do a Michael J. Fox voice.
Anyways.
I don't know how to do. You do one.
I don't know, Jock.
That was better than fuck. Fuck. I mean, that was good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Lilith asks, how much of Made of Wood, Detective Comics 784 and 786, is based on actual elements from Golden Age Green Lantern stories? Was it all just extrapolating from his weakness, or did any of that actually happen?
Oh, so in that story in Made of Wood, basically like a serial killer resurfaces or looks like they resurface after 50 years in Gotham.
Oh.
So like I said, Green Lantern, Alan Scott, is from Gotham.
Thank God. I mean, they don't have any fucking heroes there, so.
I mean, they didn't. But in that story, Batman's investigating, and these corpses keep turning up with the words "made of wood" carved into their bodies.
Whoa.
And like they're dumped at this like statue of Green Lantern or whatever. And Batman's like, well, it's obviously about Green Lantern. Like, people don't know he's weak to wood. I know that.
Yeah.
So like, I got to talk to Alan. And then Alan's like, oh yeah, this killer was going around. I never caught him. I knew it was about me. I never caught him. And
Thanks for the heads
there's a
up.
part in that story where Batman's like, didn't you keep searching for him? And he's like, no, but eventually like the murders stopped, and I was pretty relieved by that. It's like, I'm not a detective or what. Like, it's sort of funny. I mean, the ultimate idea of that story is that it's Alan Scott, very green, like no pun intended, very green
Yeah.
as a hero, underestimating a killer, being scared that he can't catch him.
Yeah.
And that this person like clearly knows he's weak to wood.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like it's sort of about that. The reveal is that the guy who was the serial killer was like a citizen of Gotham, saw Green Lantern fighting Sportsmaster, and was like, you get him, Green Lantern. And then Sportsmaster hits Green Lantern with a wooden bat, and the guy's like, you can hit God with a bat? And when he takes out Green Lantern, then Sportsmaster turns and like sends like an explosive baseball into this guy's store and blows it up. Everything they worked for. And he's like, Green Lantern just like flew away at the end of it because he was like, fuck, he like knows my weakness and went away. And so then that guy, that store owner, is like, I'm gonna make him know that I know that wood fucks him up, and starts like going on this killing spree kind of thing. So it's actually in some, I wouldn't say it's like the best story ever, but it's like sort of about these vulnerabilities or whatever. But if the question is, were they referencing a specific encounter with Sportsmaster? That I'm not sure. That's maybe a Jaffe question.
Yeah.
I suspect not. Just because, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they are. But, like, I guess you'd have to find a comic where, like, there's just Sportsmaster and Green Lantern fight on, like, a roof, and then he hits him, and then Green Lantern flies away, and a shop blows up or something like that. My instinct is to say probably not. They probably just, like, made up a kind of retcon story thing for it. But it would be cool if it was more than that. But that also feels like more of a Wade move. Like, Mark Wade does that kind of shit all the time.
Sure.
That feels like that sort of thing. But yeah, that's what the story Made of Wood is about, is a team up with Batman and Alan Scott in Gotham, which is sort of interesting.
I mean, I like that concept.
It's funny because, like, in that story, Batman plays dress up like 3 times. Like, he's putting on fake beards.
Oh,
and
God.
He's pretending to be homeless and shit. And Alan's just like, I'll put on sunglasses and that's it.
Oh, you don't want to be like me?
Yeah.
Down here's in the Gotham's
It's
underground?
me. Okay, I'm with you. Matches, is it? I'm the blue light. So
I'm
totally different from Green Lantern, if that's what you're thinking.
Red Lamp Turn.
Oh, I mean, sorry, a regular person name.
Yeah.
My name is Balam Smot.
Later with others.
Yeah.
All right. Next question from Ensign Ricky, who asks, what would the DC universe look like if Julius Schwartz had chosen to keep the secret ID names for Green Lantern and the Flash into the Silver Age?
Right. So Julie Schwartz, sort of towering figure.
Not Julius?
Well, they called him Julie.
Oh, okay.
Nickname.
Oh, okay.
Julie Schwartz, sort of towering figure in DC Comics history. But that Silver Age idea that we've talked about before was taking some of these ideas from the Golden Age and revamping them, usually with a bit more of a sci-fi lens on them.
Mm-hmm.
The Flash, Green Lantern, the Atom, Hawkman and Hawkgirl, all of these got Silver Age refreshes. With maybe slightly new powers or a variation on their origins. In many cases, new names, stuff like that.
New name. Like New Rule.
Sorry, a Bill Maher reference? Yeah. Yeah, could you believe I wasn't ready for that? So the question is, do you think it would have stuck, or do you think it would have worked if you kept everything else about the Silver Age reinterpretation, but you were like, but the character's still called Jay Garrick, or the character's still called Alan Scott, but now he's a space cop. He's a fighter pilot and a space cop. It's Alan Scott.
I mean, if they changed the origin, I mean, they did already change the origin of him.
Yeah.
So it's not like that wild.
It's not.
Because, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's tricky. I think the distance does help.
Sure.
That we can start fresh and go like, well, this is Barry Allen.
Yeah.
This is Hal Jordan. This is their thing. And yet, on the flip side, like, I think you're right. The best example is Hawkman and Hawkgirl, where it's like, yeah, they changed their names to Katar Hall or whatever, like the alien, but like he still had a secret identity on Earth that I'm pretty sure was Carter Hall.
Yes, yeah.
So they're one that like more or less actually did not change their like. So you kind of go like, was it not? I mean, maybe I shouldn't be looking to Hawkman and Hawkgirl for. Was this a fine not
continuity thing?
Continuity, but like
they even changed like Alan Scott's origin changed a couple times.
Yeah, I think if there's a knock-on effect from it, I think it's that it's maybe a little less, not easy, but just a little less obvious to do the like Crisis on Multiple Earths sort of anniversary issues. Like every year there would be a Justice League Justice Society team up.
Yeah.
Across the like dimensional divide and do an adventure.
Yeah.
And then when you do Crisis, you put them in chronological order. The Justice Society's here, the Justice League is here. That becomes a lot less obvious a move when it's like, you know, there's Hal Jordan from the 40s and Hal Jordan from the 50s.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Fair.
Black Canary is a good example of that, where they were like, she was like pretty similar, and they were like, oh, she's the daughter of, but she's got like a wizard did it, but then on this earth she kind of transferred, like, to the point where eventually they were like, there is no Golden Age Black Canary.
Sure.
They basically had to erase her.
Jesus.
She might be back now, but the point is, I think having the distance ultimately is a good thing and did help these characters in the long run. I don't really know if it would have made much difference, like at the time in 1958 or something.
Sure, yeah.
Would it affect Green Lantern sales? Like, probably not. But it's better for us now when you see like all of what's come from having two versions of the character, you know?
Totally. All right, next question from Finger Stripes 13,
Nice.
who asks,
Hell yeah. Hang on.
"Oh, time to
What better time to blast?
yeah." Jesus Christ. How did Alan's time as Sentinel come to an end? I know you guys have talked about his identity briefly on other episodes.
Yeah, so for a brief time in the 90s, I think mostly, Alan Scott was known as Sentinel. He wasn't called Green Lantern. This is generally in the Kyle Rayner era, because Kyle's the last Green Lantern, you know.
Sure.
But Alan's still around because his power works differently. It's not tied to the core. I think he originally starts taking the name Sentinel because he merges with the Starheart. Like, he takes the whole power of his green flame of life into himself. And he basically becomes just like a living lantern, essentially.
Oh, okay.
I think during that time he calls himself Sentinel. The other detail of that is that he got de-aged back to his youth during Zero Hour. So in 0 Hour, some of the Justice Society members were like aged like to be like 90 or 100, but he got de-aged because there's a whole like time travel.
Did they bring him back to come?
Yeah, I would say they put him back to come.
Yeah, okay.
Gotta listen to Ghostfacers, baby.
It's all a crossover.
Everything's a crossover.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like younger, and he had like a sleeker version of his costume, and he was called Sentinel and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he ultimately stops being Sentinel sometime after he had fought his son, Obsidian, and maybe like right before Infinite Crisis, or like in the lead up to that, like somewhere in the early 2000s, maybe. Somewhere in there, I think he stops being Sentinel. He goes back to being Green Lantern. But yeah, generally speaking, the Sentinel era is like that he merged with the Starheart. He sort of becomes something a little different. But that was also like a calculated move so that Kyle Rayner could truly be the last Green Lantern.
Sure.
You know, like I know, like we've talked about, like we understand the difference between Kyle's kind of Green Lantern and Alan's, but I think like they just really wanted to hammer it home. You know, Kyle's the last one, and so part of that is like we need a new identity for Alan or something slightly different for him. Yeah,
nice. Well, speaking of Obsidian,
he might have been part of the Sentinels of Magic as well, which might be the name thing a little bit.
Sure,
he might have been part of the Sentinels of Magic there.
The moral compass of the Doc Squad asks, is Alan Scott a good or bad father?
Oh, well, I mean, first things first, he sort of didn't know he had kids for a while. So he gets together with Thorn, a Golden Age villain. And she discovers later that she's pregnant with twins, and she gives them up for adoption. And so one of them is Jade, Jenny Lynn Hayden, who basically has Starheart powers inherent in her, even like green skin and stuff like that. And she is, becomes a Green Lantern, like a proper Green Lantern and all that kind of stuff. And she was in Infinity Inc. and all these other teams. And then her twin brother, Todd Rice.
We're gonna fuck up Todd Rice.
Burnt rice. Todd
Rice.
He's Obsidian, and he has shadow powers.
Yes.
And we talked about him before. He gets a lot of his powers because Alan had been infected with some magic from Ian Karkull and stuff like that, like, you know, comic book shit, right? Alan, much later in life, learns about these two, and so he's already kind of estranged from them. But then Todd, there's a few layers to this estrangement with Todd. Like, Todd has this darkness in him. Todd is coming out of the closet. There's all of these kind of like things, and his relationship with Alan's pretty rough for a long time. It's not anymore. They're Gucci now or whatever. But the question of whether or not he's I think I'm largely in the bad father camp.
Okay.
Not that he is like, fuck you, I never wanted kids.
Yeah.
But he's like not good at it. He kind of makes Bruce look good at it.
Jesus.
I mean, because ultimately, the child endangerment aside, Bruce is good at it. There's
Sure.
lots of good parent stuff there. It's taken Alan, even from after he discovered his kid, it's taken him like almost 25 years of comics publishing to be like reasonably on the page a decent dad.
Jesus.
And at this point, it's like, we're friends. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he raised the mirth. Like,
Yeah.
it's a different type of relationship. So even though it's not all his fault, I think Alan was sort of ill-equipped for it and unprepared and did not handle a lot of the situation great. I'm probably in the bad father camp, I would say, for Alan Scott.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that was Alan Scott.
Baby.
And the last question.
That's right.
So, whenever we find out,
Well, no, the poll is done.
oh, the poll is done. What could we possibly be talking
Well,
about?
here,
I'm so excited to find out.
poll is done
Uh-huh.
for next week.
Uh-huh.
So I'll tell you what the choices were,
Okay.
and I'll tell you what won.
Okay.
And then you can go away and pick a book, and then you'll see it when we post about it.
Yeah.
Because that's the way we do things here. Sorry, I'm waiting for my phone here. Cool. Here we go. So these were what they could have picked:
Uh-huh.
an anthology comic,
Yes.
a non-superhero genre comic, a period piece,
Yeah.
or a largely forgotten character.
Okay.
The winning one with nice percent of the vote.
69%. Wow.
Yeah, baby. Is a largely forgotten character.
Wow.
So, Richard's going to go away and pick something, and you'll see it when we see it.
Hold on. I think it's coming to me right now.
Okay.
I mean, based on that specific one winning, I think only one thing's really coming to my mind.
Sure.
And it's got to be
He's got ChatGPT open.
fuck you. House of Secrets number 92.
There you go. House of Secrets 92. Definitely a largely forgotten character. So go read House of Secrets 92. Send your questions in for that one.
Wow. God, I
next
have been
week.
I am a comics fan now. I can
Yeah.
just come up with these like on the
It's like good.
top of my head.
Yeah.
It's crazy that I even knew the issue number.
Yeah. And you say it with such confidence.
Yep.
That's the real key.
Yep. If you want to send in questions for House of Secrets number 92,
Baby.
make sure that you do it through our various social media platforms.
That's right. Dr. DC Podcast, wherever you find us.
Also, give us a 5-star review, and we will read that on a future episode.
Oh, fuck. I keep forgetting to put this in the fucking document. We have a 5-star review.
Oh, well, next week.
Here's no. I'm doing it now.
We've got a Patreon.
Chaos reigns. We got a 5-star review in the form of a sign held up at fucking SmackDown or Monday Night Raw. I can't remember which one.
Jesus Christ, really?
Stump Chunkman right into the fucking camera. Dr. DC, 5 stars on a sign.
Holy shit,
Which
Stump.
is dope, which is great.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I love that. So yeah, that's in there, baby.
Fuck, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Yeah. Well, when I go to hang out with the Goods from the Woods boys this weekend, I'll make sure to mention that.
Nice.
Because that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if you also want to make a sign and hold it up at an important event,
Yeah.
like at the Capitol or something.
Yeah. Or
make-
no, never mind.
But what were we gonna say? What were we gonna say? Jesus.
That's the real counter protest. People be like, I bet that's a pro us kind of podcast. And they listen, they'd be like, it definitely is not. Be like, we thought that this podcast would be like our cool alt-right ideology. And for a while, they had us convinced.
Yeah,
But-
because it definitely.
But I think when you really listen, I mean, I needed to be like 5 or 6 episodes in, but I'm starting to think these guys aren't all right.
I will say it does work as a form of abstinence.
Jesus Christ.
We've got a Patreon.
Patreon.com/DrDC. It's a $1, $5, $7 level. They all give you access to the Discord, our awesome Discord fan community.
Baby.
The higher levels, you get bonus episodes. It's Prescribed Reading Month over on the Patreon as well. Real gut punch this week, where we've read Rosalie Lightning by Tom Hart, which like fucking oof.
What could
Great, a
possibly-
great book, but like way too much.
What about why?
Um,
Why? I don't understand.
And so that's been a lot of fun over there. And at the highest tier, you get bonus series, Toretto Talks, Bonding Time, Cerebros, you get fun rewatch podcasts and like theme polls and that sort of stuff. And the whole Patreon helps to support us.
That's right. Speaking of us, we have more than one podcast,
Oh my God.
and that is
Ghostfacers, a supernatural rewatch. We're going through every single episode of the CW Supernatural. We talk about real world monster lore, behind the scenes stuff about the show. We're partway into season 9 of 15. It's a grand old time.
that's right. And that is it for this week.
Adios.
Ciao, ciao.
Heroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.